All right. Good evening. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on December 21st, 2023 by sending written notice and electronic notice to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building, and filing with the township clerk. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilman Kirsch?
Here.
Councilman Cordilla?
Here.
Councilman Nogales?
Here.
Councilman Pedrosa? Here. President Ring.
Here. Those of you that are able to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll ask Councilman Kirsch to lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have some minutes for approval. The April 18th closed session is making its way. I'm going to separate the April 18th and the May 2nd since Councilman Kirsch was unable to attend April 18th. Do we have a motion for the April 18th, 2024 minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. May 2nd minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion for May 2nd.
I got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on to town council reports. I'll start with Councilman Kirsch.
Thank you, Council President. It's been 3 weeks since our last meeting. A busy time, so I'll be as brief as I can be. May 7th, the Planning Board met. Considered a minor subdivision and bulk variance, which was also carried to May 21st, so I might as well knock that off as well and acknowledge that that case was adjourned. There did not appear to be sufficient support for that application. This is a minor subdivision on Chestnut Street, 2 lots that essentially were merged into one based on legislative action. And then in addition, on the 21st, we started to hear a major subdivision from Mountaintop Road, basically 2 properties being divided into 3. On May 9th, I had the privilege of attending the launch of United for Impact, a group many members live in and around Somerset County. Their focus is on mental health improvement, mental health awareness. On May 11th, I had the privilege also of meeting several Bridgewater residents at one of their favorite events, which is the bulky trash. I'm not sure if anyone else attended the May 18th. I know I was there on May 11th, and our residents remain very appreciative of that opportunity. On May 14th, the zoning board did not meet but carried 4 cases to either May 28th or June 11th. On May 16th, I had the privilege of joining Council President Ring in celebrating his induction into the Boy Scout Hall of Fame, along with his brother and others. So I'm certainly glad to celebrate that important accomplishment. On May 19th, I attended Community Day in conjunction with the JCC over at the mall, well attended. And there were certainly many Bridgewater families, as well as those from the wider geographic area. Last night in this room, we had a very successful master plan workshop. I'm sure others may comment on that. Maybe the mayor will comment on that. So I'll simply acknowledge it was very successful and certainly is putting us in a good position to move forward with our master plan. Earlier today, I was at the dedication of a plaque in honor of Prince Rogers. It's quite an interesting story of who Prince Rogers was and the importance of remembering his legacy. That was a dedication in coordination with the township, the Somerset Patriots, the Prince Rogers Foundation, and Bridgewater Baseball and Softball. And then one I want to go back to, on May 13th, I attended a meeting called by Congressman Kane combating anti-Semitism. And I don't want to belabor the point, but I do want to acknowledge that there are many members in this community that are hurting and hurting quite badly, emotionally particularly. Not only with what is happening in the Middle East, people have family, people have concern there, but what's happening in this country, what's happening on college campuses, what's happening in various cities. The scourge of anti-Semitism certainly has been rearing its ugly head even more over the last several months, and I just want to acknowledge that there are many in this community that are considerably impacted by that. I don't have any magic solution. I wish I did, but I do want to just briefly share two comments that I made during the roundtable. One was that there's substantial conversation about the First Amendment and everybody's First Amendment rights, and whether you're a college student or whether you're protesting in some other place. And I just find it ironic that another part of the First Amendment is freedom of religion. And I believe that a big portion of freedom of religion can and should be the ability for a person to peacefully display a charm on a necklace of whatever faith they may be. The other thing I just want to acknowledge is a compliment that I received from some other Bridgewater affiliated groups that were there. They feel well supported by us. They feel that in our community we're certainly doing all that we can, and specifically the individuals that were there was Rabbi Selsberg from Temple Shalom, as well as members of the JCC and the Federation, and that's my report.
Thank you. Councilman Cordilla?
Very short report, in that I complied with the community block grant process, sent my report in, and so on, and that's all that I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Norgalis?
Thank you. I was privileged, along with Councilman Kirsch, to attend the induction of our Council President Ring into the Eagle Scout Hall of Fame. Tim, along with his brother Bob, have been Eagle Scouts for over 25 years and involved in numerous community support activities. Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you.
We have had floods, flu, COVID, earthquake, and the latest is the geomagnetic storm from the sun exploding out massive amounts of energy. Some of you may have even seen the aurora borealis, also known as the Northern Lights, as it moves south from the North Pole. While I hope never to report on the arrival of the biblical plague of locusts, I do need to say that the cicadas are coming. They are in the spotlight this year with the emergence of two broods, brood number 13 and brood number 19 at the same time, so have your earplugs ready. The Bridgewater Master Plan last night in this building, it was very well presented and offered an opportunity for residents to tell their thoughts and concerns about the future township plans. The 200 Club of Somerset County, an organization dedicated to the support of our fire, EMS, and police, had their 2024 annual Valor and Scholarship Awards luncheon last week. $2,500 scholarship awards went to the following folks who were associated with Bridgewater Township: Sabrina Abella from the Bradley Gardens First Aid and Rescue Squad, Naya Gabalant, also from the Bradley Gardens First Aid and Rescue Squad, Evan Halpern, Green Knoll Rescue Squad, Anil Kalapa from Findern First Aid and Rescue Squad, and the Police Academy $5,000 scholarship given in memory of Rocco Damio went to Jamie Chiang of the Martinsville Rescue Squad. That is my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Pedroso?
Thank you, sir. Only a couple of things I want to highlight. First of all, I completed the Wharton Public Policy Certificate Program. It was a 5-month program with various wide range of classes on various topics in public policy. Found it very interesting. If any of you have an opportunity to do it, I recommend it. And the only other thing besides, I attended various things throughout the past 3 weeks, but the only thing I want to sort of emphasize again is the Prince Rogers dedication ceremony today. Thank you to the Somerset Patriots and Bridgewater Township for organizing a very well-deserved event. There is now a plaque in remembrance of Prince Rogers at the ballpark at Prince Rogers Little League Complex on Prince Rogers Avenue. Just a couple little points. I'm not going to go into the detailed history of Prince Rogers, but I think it's just worth noting tonight that, just so everyone knows, Prince Rogers was a resident in Bridgewater. His parents were kidnapped from Africa, and they were enslaved here in New Jersey in the late 1700s. Prince Rogers was born in Bridgewater on September 29th, 1815, and he himself became a slave. He was freed on September 29th in 1839. He then helped establish the community that is now Hopstown. It's my understanding that Hopstown was one of the first African-American communities established in New Jersey. So it's nice to have that tribute for him here in town. He is buried in Bridgewater in a very small cemetery on Foothill Road, which I believe is a historical site. If it's not, it should be.
Is that the one right behind the firehouse?
Near the firehouse.
Okay.
And I wish everybody a happy and healthy Memorial Day weekend. Let summer begin.
All right, thank you. Just a couple items. As Councilman Kirsch mentioned, last night was the master plan presentation, public input session. Was very well attended by the public, and I'd just like to extend my appreciation to everyone, in particular Suzanne from the Office of Constituent Relations, who organized the event. Like to extend my personal appreciation to my fellow brothers and sisters in EMS who are celebrating EMS Week this week, and I thank those members of the council for attending and the well wishes on my Eagle Scout honor. That's my report. Mayor's report.
Good evening. It's good to be able to join everybody at the council meeting. So I wish I could have been to. There we go. I wish I'd been to.
If you're here, you might as well be heard.
That's what I'm saying. It's captive audience, and but I just wanted to have a few comments for reports. First of all, I was unable to attend Councilman President Ring's dinner, but I just wanted to publicly congratulate him again, as everyone else has done. If anybody knows Tim, he is probably one of the most resourceful people that I know, and certainly embodies, I think, what it means to be an Eagle Scout, and from all of his public service and leadership roles to the type of person that he is. So it was a fine selection into that organization's Hall of Fame, and I told it was a great event. So glad that occurred, and sorry that I missed it. Last night's planning board open master plan discussion I thought was really well done. I want to thank OCR, especially Suzanne Mader, for coordinating that effort. And we had a lot of positive feedback from the public on the format of how it was done. I got a lot of good feedback from the public that I talked to with different ideas and different things that they had noticed in their area, or concerns that they had that are things that we really should be thinking about. And that's, of course, why we do it, to get that public input. Thank you, Michael, for pinch hitting today and attending the Prince Rogers event. I was told it was a really nice event, and I told his remarks were well received, and glad that he was able to speak on behalf of the township. Only other item generally is, I know there's been questions. We are, I promise everybody, we are close to finalizing a budget to present to the council, and we've been going through various iterations and issues to make sure that it is good to go. And I think we are nearing an end, so I appreciate the council's patience with me between us working through what we needed to do and me needing to make decisions on what we want to do. So we will have that for the council, and we will get that moving, I promise you, as quickly as we can. So that's all my report.
Thank you. All right, so next up is a proclamation for EMS Week, and I know that at least one of the EMS agencies that we invited tonight is on their way back from a call at Morristown Memorial and will be delayed. So I think what we'll do, if the captains are willing, we're going to have them go next, and we'll come back to the proclamation.
Okay.
You guys good with that? So with that, I guess, Mayor or Administrator, do you want to
Yeah, I'll make a
introduce
few.
this presentation?
Yeah, I'll make a few comments, and then we can hear if the officers have anything to add. Myself and Chief Mitzak have been participating with other municipalities in the Somerset Hills area. So it's Bridgewater, Bernards, Bernardsville, Far Hills, Peapack, Gladstone, and maybe Bedminster, to discuss the issues that a lot of our communities have faced with regard to car thefts and the thefts of the car parts and all the stuff that comes with that. And we've looked at it from both a law enforcement perspective and from a policy perspective. And there's various things that we've discussed and tried to, or continue to try to do, such as things like coordination with regard to, a lot of communities are impacted by the same 78 exits, as an example. So for people who are coming down 78 and getting off at exit 33, or the exit in towards Bedminster, well, it impacts Bridgewater, Bernards, Bedminster, Warren. All those towns are impacted by the same intersection. So there's been discussion of how we can pool resources, how we can communicate between the towns. There's a joint application for a grant with regard to additional license plate readers, things that can all be shared in information between municipalities. So if there is a stolen car reported, it pings. The more cameras you have, it's a shared system, so you can alert other municipalities, things like that. One of the issues that has come out of that is towns have been passing some local ordinances to give an extra tool to municipalities to have some additional enforcement power when it comes to not car thefts directly, but people who are loitering on a property for purposes of stealing a car. Maybe they haven't quite stolen it yet, but they're about to. It's an additional tool that we have that can go alongside state statutes that already exist. It provides us a little additional leeway in terms of how we charge or getting in front of issues. One of the problems that often happens is by the time a car theft occurs, the car is gone, it's out of our jurisdiction, it may be harder to implement. So this is another tool in the toolbox to combat that. It is not a silver bullet to solve the problem, but it's an additional tool, and it's also a message. All the other municipalities in this group have passed similar ordinances. It's a way of, in addition to giving our police additional resources, it's a way of us making a statement both to our public, to people who may be coming into our community with not great intent in mind, that we will take these things seriously, as well as sending a message to the state that we believe that they need to continue to increase their efforts at combating these crimes, which impact a lot of municipalities, not just Bridgewater. So with that, we are asking the council to consider at its next meeting introducing this ordinance, which would provide some additional tools to do that. The officers, we've checked with the prosecutor's office to make sure that they're okay with it. And of course, we've coordinated with our police department. So that's what we have. Captains want to add any comments? You're here. The stage is yours.
I think this is mostly going to be utilized for, if we get a burglary charge or something that's not authorized by the prosecutor's office, then we will charge it this.
Right.
So that's pretty much it. Other than that, the mayor covered everything, I think. And I don't know if Mr. Crucini has anything else too, because we had a brief conversation today about this.
I can't state it any better than the mayor has and the captains can, except that my office prepared this in coordination with the administration and the department, and my memo covers all the relevant legal issues. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has, as our two boys in blue here. So,
Actually, one's in green tonight.
I didn't even realize that. You're right. Thanks, Council President.
The question that I have is, listening to the ability to share information and so forth, in days past, there was always, InfoCop and different utilities where officers could share information across towns. Now that we go through county for dispatch, say there's an incident, we have the plate readers in Bridgewater, and we're looking at cars going up, going up north or coming south. How is there an anticipated way, is that information going to be shared through county dispatch, to get that information out, or how's it going to be served?
No, flock cameras is the brand that we have, flock cameras. We have 3 of them in town, and then we put in the grant for an additional flock camera. So if you sign up for the e-alerts on your phone, you'll get an alert straight to your phone. And then you can share it with whoever you want to share it with. So if there are cameras, we have 3 cameras. We can give Warren, we can give Bedminster, we can give PPAC sharing so they can see hot plates that go in there or any kind of stolen cars that we see, that we hit on, that they would hit on. They would get an alert as well.
So this would basically be police department to police
Yes.
department and so forth?
County is not involved in this.
It's not even really police to police, because they're getting the alert the same time you're getting it.
Yes.
It's really real time.
Yeah.
They're all getting the alert at the same time.
That's my question.
Well, the county communications is not involved in this. No.
Okay. I don't have a comment, I'm just trying to wonder how it's going to work.
Crime occurs, a burglary, that information is shared immediately with surrounding towns. We'll have dispatch relay that information.
Okay.
Our detective bureau has monthly meetings, weekly meetings. If something happens in our town, we start calling the other towns as soon as possible.
Very good. I'm just curious about that point, because it's very dynamic information that, how do we get it from here to Warren, up to Far Hills or whatever the case might be? That was just a question. Thank you.
I have one question. We have Amber Alerts where we ask the public for help in finding missing kids and walkaways. Any consideration to telling the public that there is a stolen car or something out there? So, because we're limited by police eyes in the hundreds. If we told some of the population, we'd have a lot more eyes looking for a specific vehicle. It's just a thought. I'm not expecting you guys to come up with anything at this point, but information is very valuable, and the more we can share it and the more we can get people involved, the better.
I don't know how much New Jersey will allow that, but I will tell you that I personally, in private industry, work with Flock on a regular basis, and in Tennessee right now, Memphis, which is a hotbed for stolen cars, I get the alerts all the time on my phone for hotels in Memphis. So it is done outside of New Jersey. I don't know if New Jersey will allow it.
Mr. President, just I guess a question maybe more for administration. Do you anticipate bringing an ordinance to us in the next couple of weeks?
Yes, so there's a ordinance that is drafted. It's either identical or very similar to what the other municipalities, it may have been updated for purposes of meeting our code, but it's in the same general substance as what has been done for the other municipalities.
I've already submitted it, Mayor.
There you go.
I thought that it was circulated.
Yeah.
So it was, originally there was a question of putting it on the
Yep.
agenda, and based upon our precedence of wanting to have a presentation and discussion for feedback before we introduce, I
Right.
ask that we hold that till the next meeting.
Yes.
I support that protocol.
Yeah.
Look, this is a very important issue. This goes to people's safety. Obviously, cars being stolen, mud rooms being broken into to then steal the key fob, to then steal the car, the catalytic converters. This is certainly a quality of a severe quality of life concern. I guess the question that I have, we don't want people to live we don't want people to be petrified, but at the same time they do need to be diligent. Do you sense that this is it getting better? Is it getting worse? What are you seeing?
To be honest with you, sir, it comes in ebbs and flows. We haven't had a lot of catalytic converter thefts in a good month or two. So who knows, maybe we'll have more tonight, but it seems like a a crew comes in.
It's his fault.
A week or two, and then the crew's gone for a month or two. So we haven't had catalytic converter thefts in maybe even this year. I mean, beginning of the year we had some, but not in a couple of months. But we have had some car burglaries. Not the car burglaries that people leave their cars unlocked, people go inside and help themselves to items that are in the cars, not stolen cars, car burglaries.
Oh, theft of property within a car. And then the other thing, I just want to, make sure that I'm portraying it correctly. People's homes are being broken into, a mud room or, something where people tend to keep keys, and then, they're walking away with the key fob.
Yeah, there's a high-end car parked in the driveway, and people have been breaking. There's one happened in Warren last week. Someone broke into their house to grab their keys to steal their car out of their driveway.
You can actually buy very nice boxes on Amazon, not that I'm recommending, that are RFID signal blocking boxes. So you can, the thieves have a device that they use to locate the RFID signal, so that when they break into your house, they know where to go to get the fob. You can actually buy a box that's RFID box. If you think of the foil that you would put your Easy Pass in, the box is lined with that. You put your keys in that at night, they can't find your keys in your house, so they go somewhere else. It's about $30 on Amazon.
Or in the alternative, they find one that's close to a window that's easily accessible, and that's the one they take.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's also now a device out there that's sold at some major stores called Flipper Zero that clones any RFID device. And they sell it for the convenience of having an extra car key, but it's being used by criminals. It's about $160. So they can break into your house, clone your car key, and put your key back and take your car at another time. They're getting smarter, and we have to try to stay one step ahead of them.
So if, it sounds like the council is generally okay with it, so we can have that for the next meeting.
Can I make a suggestion to the administration, much like we did with the introduction of the sewer ordinance for tonight? Rather than waiting till we get our packet a couple days before the next meeting, I think if we could circulate that sooner versus later, it gives the council more time to review it.
We can circulate it as early as tomorrow. Okay. It's ready to go.
Thank you.
Can we circulate it instantaneously? We are ready to go. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right. We will move to meeting to the public. I will take a motion to entertain opening the meeting to the public.
I'll make that motion.
We have a
Second it.
motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there's unusual circumstances. If you come forward, if you could please state your name and address. If you're not comfortable, do we have a sign-in sheet there? If you're not comfortable stating your address, you may write on the sheet there as a sign-in. Thank you.
Hi, yes, I'll write it on the sheet. Hi, my name is Sandra Rue, and I live in Bridgewater, 373 Pond Road. Yes. I was reviewing the agenda, and I see Oprah's on the agenda, and I wanted some explanation or understanding the ordinance number 12, calling for the modernization of the Open Public Access Records Act, and the swift passage of the Senate bill and Assembly bill. Could you explain that? That's one thing, because Oprah is a way that I use just to understand what's going on in my town. And I do not want that to be limited in any way. So I just want to know, what does this mean? The second thing is about the sewer bill, but you said you're going to address that later. How will my sewer charges be increased?
So that's to be determined.
Okay, yeah, you said that.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Oprah?
that's up to you.
Right. It hasn't been,
It's been passed. The governor has not signed it yet.
Right.
So it's passed both houses of the legislature. I think it was a bill sponsored by Senate President Scutari and Senate Minority Leader Bucco, and passed both houses. It's on the governor's desk for him to either sign, veto, or conditionally veto. And the bill is very comprehensive. It does a lot of things. It's not a simple bill. But as a general matter, it attempts to clarify what is subject to Oprah, what is not. It addresses some of the fees and costs that get associated with Oprah, so that if somebody is requesting, if a commercial company is requesting a lot of things, that we can charge the company back for it. If there are certainly municipalities where people use Oprah as a way of, I'll put it this way, they're very aggressive with how many Oprahs they put in and how often they put in and whether they're truly Oprahable. So it tries to shift the balance a little bit, so cost is not firmly on the taxpayers all the time. Like at we have the case that Bridgewater has right now, where Mr. Corsini's office is handling in the Supreme Court over, as an example, whether or not email lists are Oprahable. So those are some of the issues. When Oprah first came out years ago, there's been a lot of case law that has taken place since that time that has, in some instances, been good rulings, some instances, maybe has been seen as less beneficial. So the Senate and Assembly are trying to update.
So it's not eliminating Oprah.
Oh, it's not eliminating Oprah, but it might clarify. So there may be some things, I don't want to misrepresent it, there may be some things that right now are subject to Oprah, which moving forward may not be. Email lists, as an example, are something that's up in the air. It would answer that question.
Within a couple weeks of applying for a permit to install a generator at my house, I started receiving in the mail unsolicited offers for generator maintenance because companies go file an Oprah request for building permits that public tax dollars are paying for that company to generate a marketing list.
Correct, and that's been the problem. So to answer your question is that it's very comprehensive, but what that resolution would do is essentially ask the governor to sign the bill that is on his desk.
So the word modernization, I'm not sure what that means.
This resolution is a model resolution that the League of Municipalities has put out, and it's basically saying that when Oprah was first done, I forget the exact year, but it could have been 40 years ago or 30 years ago. So what this is saying is essentially saying to the governor, sign the bill that's on your desk that would otherwise modernize Oprah to address all the changes in law and technology that have taken place since Oprah was first instituted.
All right, thanks.
Seeing no additional movement, move to close public input.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. With that, I'd like to go back to proclamation.
Okay. Council President, am I reading or are you reading?
It's all you.
All right. Hold on. Let me get the right one.
If you want me to? Okay. That's all right.
I am capable, It's all right. I'm not going to argue. I just... All right.
Before you read this, you should forewarn them that if they come up for a picture and she tells you to stand somewhere, just stand there.
Yeah.
It's much easier.
Yeah. As I say, you gentlemen should come up because it's... all right, we'll let our EMS members come up here and... Was that?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Hold on. Council President's making sure. I got the right one. No, right here. I got it. No, I'm going to read the one for Greenall because they're here.
Clearly, we do this on one take without practice.
I know. It's. Listen, I told Council President he could do it if he wanted to. Between Tim and Suzanne, I don't even know why I'm here. It's all right. So in celebration of EMS Week 2024, it's a proclamation. We have one of these for all of our rescue squads. Obviously, we have a Greenall here this evening. So I will read the Greenall Rescue Squad proclamation, and then we will get the others to all of the squads. And I know before I read it, I just want to say on behalf of the township, thank you to all of our squads for everything you do. I know many members of our of our council have served on EMS, Council President Ring and Councilman Pedroso, and of course, we have a lot of fire experience as well with Councilman Cardillo and Councilman Orgalis. But EMS is an important part of our public safety. We talk about our police officers a lot, we talk about our firefighters a lot, and EMS is just as critical and called very often the services of our EMS community. So with that, whereas the Bridgewater Volunteer Rescue Squads are the heartbeat of our community's emergency medical services, providing vital care with unwavering dedication. And whereas Bridgewater residents are served by 4 rescue squads, the Bradley Gardens First Aid and Rescue Squad, the Findern First Aid and Rescue Squad, the Greenall Rescue Squad, and the Martinsville Rescue Squad. And whereas the members of the Greenall Rescue Squad stand ready 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to deliver life-saving assistance to those in need. And whereas the exceptional quality of care provided by the Greenall Rescue Squad significantly enhances the chances of survival and recovery for individuals facing sudden illness or injury. And whereas the residents of Bridgewater depend on the expertise and commitment of EMS providers, who are often the first to arrive at emergency scenes, delivering immediate medical care and starting the crucial chain of survival that saves lives. And whereas the members of the Greenall Rescue Squad, both career professionals and volunteers alike, commit countless hours to specialized training and ongoing education, continuously honing their life-saving skills to better serve our community. And whereas it is fitting to celebrate the invaluable contributions and remarkable achievements of the Greenall Rescue Squad by officially designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Matthew C. Mensch, Mayor of Bridgewater, along with the Bridgewater Council, in honor of this occasion, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th to 25th, 2024, as Emergency Medical Services Week. We urge all Bridgewater residents to join us in recognizing and celebrating the vital role played by the Greenall Rescue Squad in protecting and preserving Bridgewater's health and welfare. Thank you, gentlemen.
Of course, thank you.
We'll take a picture. Sounds good. Get the whole council down, take a picture.
To balance it on your head.
Back up ever so slightly. You guys back up to the podium for me. Thank you.
How are we going to fit in here, Howard?
Nice.
Your shoulder in front of his shoulder. Yes, perfect. And then here, yes, this side. Yep, Alan there.
I did.
Yes, you have some parting gifts, too. All right, so moving on. We are now at item number 10, which is a public hearing and final action ordinance. This is an ordinance amending the Code of the Township of Bridgewater, Chapter 40, Substances, Hazards, to add sections relevant to reimbursement of costs to the township and violations and penalties. Do we have a motion to open public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. At this time, anyone that would like to come forward and comment specifically on item 10A is welcome to do so.
Seeing no interest from the public in speaking on 10A, I move to close the public portion and to move forward with final action and final action on 10A.
We have a motion. Do we have a,
Make that motion.
no, we have a motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any comments?
I guess I have a comment, Mr. Council President. Thank you, sir. Consistent with my my vote, well, my vote my no vote during the introduction, I will also vote no for final adoption. Although I support the concept of this ordinance, and I do think that generally it's a good thing, and I want to thank Sergeant James Edward for the work he put into this. I did make a simple request to add one sentence into the ordinance, which was that the term discharge shall not include any spill related or 25 gallons or less gasoline from a non-commercial vehicle. I did say I was willing to tweak those words. But since that's not included, I will not vote in favor of the ordinance. I think the ordinance as it stands has a broad scope. It basically subjects individuals of passenger vehicles to substantial costs if they have an accident, and some vehicle spills from the car. I do think that although I understand the logic of passing this cost on to the person who caused the accident and perhaps maybe insurance companies, end of the day, I don't think that's a net savings to the residents. I think if you transfer the cost of the insurance company, well, the people's car insurances go up, and it's really the net savings doesn't really apply. I do think that to a certain extent, government has an obligation to provide essential services. I would certainly consider cleaning up a reasonable amount of fluid from a passenger motor vehicle accident to be an essential government service. I don't believe it's proper to pass on that expense to the residents who have the unfortunate event of having a car accident. I think these amounts can be very, very high. Whether insurance covers it or not is questionable. And then, of course, there's the whole issue that we are creating. We are expanding government. We're creating an entire bureaucracy now that has to deal with pursuing these fees, collecting these fees. You have additional attorney fees to collect the fees. There's a whole bureaucratic system that's created around this that actually increases costs. So without having that proper language that would limit the scope to commercial vehicles or larger size vehicles, I will not support the ordinance.
And Mr. President, just to reiterate part of the conversation from 3 weeks ago, there may be consensus to solve the concern that Councilman Pedroso has at some later point in the intervening time that it takes to introduce this ordinance. I think it's more prudent for us to go with a fix, even if it's not a perfect fix. And if there is a desire to revisit this later this year, we certainly can do that. So that's the reason why I will support this as a fix of a problem. And if there's an even better fix available later in the year, we can consider that at a later time.
Thank you. Any other comments?
The only comment, Council President, I'll just make is that the current fee provision is already in our code. This is just, right now, if somebody just, there's people who pay right now as they're supposed to when requested, but there's other instances where people just refuse. So this is just to add an enforcement mechanism to the fee schedule that already exists. This is not adding new fees. It's just allowing us to enforce it against people who don't comply with what's currently there.
If this ordinance did not pass tonight, to Councilman Pedroso's concerns, residents could still be charged. This is not a new fee. The ability to charge.
Correct.
already
We would
exists.
still charge as we have been in these situations where it's appropriate. We just wouldn't be able to enforce for those people who decide not to
Correct.
comply.
So, all right. If there's no other comments, we'll take roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
No.
President Ring?
Yes. All right. Next up, 11A is an ordinance amending Chapter 175 sewers and sewer usage, sewer disposal, implementing revised sewer fees and payment schedule. Someone like to comment?
Yeah, I'll make a few comments, and then Mr. Pappas can address anything if he thinks I missed anything. This ordinance does a few things. As a starting point, it just updates the current cost. If somebody wants to connect to sanitary sewer, there's a fee schedule with that. You have to pay for the hookup. This updates that, those numbers.
That's for new connections, not.
For new connections, correct. If you're not currently connected to sewer and you are connecting, whether you're, there's different fee schedule if you're a residential user or if you're a commercial user, but this is just updating.
Volume.
Correct. This is updating that. The other aspect of this, just as everyone I think knows, we are sewer right now. We have our sewer utility, but we obviously, we get charged by SRVSA. That's the agency which processes all of our sewer and waste flow, and they set a schedule that amounts to just about half of our entire sewer budget goes to paying the charges that they charge us. We don't control that. We have two votes essentially on a board that consists of all the several municipalities, the county, the entities that have voting rights there. But they pass on their costs. And in the past, when they increased their costs, the township didn't do anything
Adjust
to
appropriately.
Right. And that had created, if everyone remembers, when I first, 4 years ago in our first term, one of the issues that we had to address was sewer, because the sewer budget had been so depleted down because of things like not adjusting, not taking into account the costs that SRVSA passed on, and other using sewer money to pay for roads and things like that. But so what we are attempting to do is to one, adjust the cost for 2024 to take into account what we are going to do moving forward, and then also address going forward to make it clear that if SRVSA increases their costs, then that would be a cost that's passed on to our users, because it's a direct cost that we incur, and that the rates would go up with whatever that cost increase is. So that way we don't have a situation where we have to come back constantly amending the ordinance to adjust the fee schedule. So that's the highlights with what we're trying to accomplish with this ordinance.
For the public's benefit, on the annual sewer usage, could someone just perhaps recap what we're looking at price-wise?
Sure.
This year and next?
Sure. Currently, the sewer fee is $472 annually. The proposal is to increase, basically for the second half of this year, an additional $12, which would bring it to $484. And for 2025, an additional $12. So it would be $496.
So just to clarify, I don't want to, we're looking at 483 and 495 on our document.
Okay. We had talked about that at the last meeting, and people wanted to round things, and
Okay.
I guess the version that you have is not what I had expected.
To modify
So we can
version, or
adjust those numbers here.
so if we want to.
Well, I mean, just for clarity, if we are adjusting numbers, I would prefer, since this is payable in two chunks, for those who choose to do that, if we do make the amount 484 and 496, and in addition, I would recommend that the hookup fees, which are scheduled to go to $4,765.95 at the risk of overtaxation, if we simply round that up by a nickel, to make that, a full dollar amount.
So just to clarify, so new connections would be 4766. Commercial would be 4766 for every 300 gallons per day. And then source for this year would be
484.
484, and then for 2025, 496. I'm told by Mr. Corsini, if we verbalize that prior to introduction, we are okay. So I guess just informally, are we all in agreement on that?
Right, and if the council looks
Yes or no?
on the ordinance, you see that the rate section, Section 3, has the rate for January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, and then the other Section C talks about the rate in 2025.
Okay.
It does also include provisions to allow for differing dates, as had been.
2 payments.
Yeah, it gives people the option if they would choose. The SRVSA pass-through, as the mayor said, is included. The only thing that's not included, what I had discussed with the council last time, was the additional increase in 2026. That's been removed.
Okay. And the automatic 2% every year has been removed.
Correct. And then the other addition is a commitment that the administration will, every even-numbered years, reevaluate and report to the council.
I just want to.
I'd like to make it,
I acknowledged our
ahead.
sewer expert first.
I'd like to make it very clear to the public that this is not a sewer tax. This is a sewer utility payment, no different for your garbage or your electric or your gas or something like that. In this particular case, we happen to be the intermediary to pay the bill, but it is not a tax, it is a utility. Thank you.
Sorry, Councilman Kirsch.
No, my apology. I guess a question for administration. Can you walk us through, so we have just set the rate for, or we are in the process of setting the rate for 24, as well as for 25. Can you walk through your thoughts on how we would approach any SRVSA increase?
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Mr. Corsini, you can correct me, but if the ordinance, if the council approves the ordinance, there would not need to be council action, that whatever notification that the sewerage authority would provide would then be able to be incorporated into the individual sewer user fee. 2 years ago, they increased it by 2.5%. In 2022, the administration and the council determined not to pass that on, and have absorbed that. Approximately, probably $130,000 or $140,000 additional expense that was absorbed in 2022 and in 2023. The sewerage authority did not increase the fee this year.
Okay, because the way it reads, and this is in section 3, letter D, whenever treatment fees or costs charged to the township are increased by the Somerset Raritan Valley Sewerage Authority or the Plainfield Area Regional Sewerage Authority, the fees and charges herein shall be increased by the same percentage as said increase. The increase shall begin on January 1st of the year thereafter. Now, typically, they come to us in like the February to March timeline.
I was mistaken. The Sewerage Authority, SRVSA, approves their budget by December. So that fee does not take effect until the following calendar year. I misspoke at the last meeting. So we would be notified by December or January.
So there would not be a supplemental bill
Correct.
to cover the additional?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, because what I'm concerned about is that, we bill people, they know what to expect. It doesn't change, through the year. I know some some heartburn was created with a supplemental tax bill this year associated with the school district. I just want to make sure that we're not setting us up to create a situation like that when we issue bills for the sewer utility for a particular calendar year. That is what that is. And I just want to make sure that from a timing standpoint, we have the sufficient ability to integrate whatever increase there may be, particularly from the Somerset Raritan Valley Sewerage Authority.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
I mean, just for context purposes, we're talking about a 5% increase over a 2.5-year period, and certainly, a sizable portion of that is a pass-through expense from the sewerage authority. It certainly, I think, pains all of us anytime that we have to increase a fee. But in this case, a 5% increase over a 2.5-year period seems to be very modest. I'll support this ordinance.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When are we anticipating receiving a sewer budget? Because at this point, the governing body has not received the sewer budget.
So it goes, when we get it goes hand in hand with the regular budget. So I'm anticipating that it will be before the next meeting. That's the hope. One of the issues that we have with the budget, with the sewer budget, is we need to know what the what the fees are. Because obviously, if the council is approving these these fees, then we know. Obviously the budgets have to balance, right? So if we know what the fees coming in are, we can make the final determinations on the budget for the sewer. If the council, again, if the council approves this, then we know what the anticipated revenue is based off of these numbers. If the council doesn't approve this, then we have lower revenue, and we have to take that into consideration because everything has to balance, right? We can't have you have to have a balanced budget on this stuff. So once this gets, moves forward, presumably introduced this evening, and if we anticipate, the council approving it, we'll be able to finalize those numbers for the sewer budget.
My thought is that I feel like in a way, we're putting the cart before the horse, as they say. Is it possible for us to receive both the budget and this ordinance at the same time, so that typically the governing body has the obligation to scrutinize the budget? They go through it in detail. Sometimes they make cuts, sometimes they don't. But there's a process, and in that process, by going through it, it's a large budget, a lot of line items. Maybe the fee that's proposed here makes sense, right? But maybe another set of eyes will find something that can be done, and maybe the fee can be lower. So my point is that I just don't feel like I have information to know whether this fee is the right number or not without having the budget.
And so a couple things on that. So one, part of this is to address the fact that the prior, not this year, but last year, SRVSA increased their rates by 2.5%, but we did not pass that along. So one, we're trying to make up that extra 2.5% that we absorbed through the sewer budget that we didn't pass along, and make sure that we get ahead, because we don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully every year, they don't increase, and we can have many years in a row with no increases from SRVSA. But the SRVSA bill is half of our budget. We still have, the other half of our budget is still normal costs, right? We have employees every year.
Pumps.
Right. We have all the equipment that goes with that. So the problem with sewer as a different function in the municipal budget is with the sewer, right? The rates are set by ordinance every year, and historically, our town has not increased them every year. We've gone as long as we can without an increase, and then when we're finally at the edge of the abyss, we then increase them, and that's not really a good way of of doing it, because what we're trying to head off also is larger increases. If you remember, we had to increase the sewer budget a couple years ago by a larger amount. We're trying to avoid that because I think the public it's easier to absorb a $12 increase or a $10 increase than not doing it for several years and coming back and saying, hey, now we need to do a $100 increase. The other part of it is one of the discussions that has occurred. We have lots of people that want us to sell the sewer system. We're always approached by people that want us to sell the sewer system. And there's a lot of people that don't want us to sell the sewer system. Well, one of the decisions that we need to make is if we are going to keep the sewer system, we need to invest in the sewer system, which involves substantial investment in terms of pumps and equipment and infrastructure. And if that is where we're going to go, we need to make sure that we are building up some revenue. So it's your point, right? So if we increase it by $12 this year, and we looked at it and said, well, we didn't have an increase from SRVSA this year, maybe we could avoid it. Well, that might be true, but one, that doesn't allow us to put any money into, the future capital improvement funds. We don't need to bond, future costs, and it doesn't take less to anticipate if we got a cost in this, December for SRVSA going up, we're then already behind the 8 ball when it comes to that increase takes effect on January. We're not, passing next year's budget until sometime in the spring. We're already increasing that cost, and then we're stuck either increasing by a larger amount, increasing, doing multiple bills. So, we believe that these rates, certainly for 24 and 25, right? The council last meeting said they didn't want to go another year out because you want to be able to look at it in a not too far out. So that's why we're looking to do this, and we would support these numbers regardless of if we went through the sewer budget and said, look, we think we could manage with only a $5 increase this year. If we're going to do prudent financial planning, we need to be able to make sure we have enough funds. And at the end of 25, when we look at this again in 26, the answer might be maybe we don't want to increase it in 26, but we need to look at it. The other part of your question, Councilman, is that certainly the hope, the schedule would be that you'd have a proposed sewer budget before the next meeting, and we would anticipate using these numbers in the budget with the anticipation that if this gets introduced tonight, the council will pass it. If the council had a concern, obviously you can always you can always carry the resolution at the next meeting, or obviously once we send it to you, it's your budget, so you can always impact the sewer budget how you want. But we don't want to delay this too long because we do want to know what revenue we anticipate we're going to be able to have for the budget, and we want to be able to get the tax bills out and not let the sewer get caught up in any other discussions on the budget.
Well, I would certainly support pushing the ordinance off for the 2 weeks until we have the entire budget so that we can see the broad scope of what's happening with our sewer budget and whether or not the increases requested are justified within the budget. I think those are the right steps.
Mr. President, and this.
You done, Councilman Pedrosa?
I'm done with that statement, yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. Go ahead.
A comment or reaction to what the mayor has said. I believe we have a fiduciary responsibility to properly manage this utility, whether we have intention to keep it or intention to pursue other options or anything else. We have a fiduciary responsibility. So, if there is maintenance that needs to be done and planned for, we need to do it and we need to plan for it. And the good news is that if, and the operative word here is if, there is consideration of a sale of the utility, the better fiscal and physical condition that utility is in, the higher the price that we would potentially get. So, I don't think it's a matter of, well, let's just, kind of wait and see and not fix things and kick the can down the road. That is definitely not the approach that I think any of us are looking to take. I think we are looking to make sure that the physical and the fiscal health of that utility remain in good standing. And I guess if I could just ask Mr. Pappas to potentially explain how we came to these two numbers. Well, I mean, really the one number, which is, the 25 number, the belief that we are already halfway through the year. So clearly this was not pulled out of thin air. Can you provide some guidance on how we got to this, 495, 496 number?
There are, and the council will see in the 2024 budget, some significant equipment purchases that are needed that will probably amount to close to $900,000. And options, one of them is for a jet vac truck. The two that we have are old, and one of them is on their last legs. And it's the administration's belief that to purchase these cash is advisable as compared to bonding for them. That's one example of the use of the additional funds would be used for equipment purchases that are really needed. Does that address your question?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a three-part answer. So, one is, as we've discussed, the increase from SRVSA that we did not pass along immediately, then passing it on for a portion of time, and then, as you point out, maintaining sufficient cash reserve so that we have the flexibility to make purchases such as the equipment that you've mentioned. I mean, is that correct?
Yes, of course.
So I'm comfortable with this number. I'm also comfortable with setting this as soon as we can so that the residents know what to expect. Our tax collector can make sufficient plans for getting these bills out. So I am comfortable moving ahead tonight with this ordinance.
Thank you. Before any further comments, I would just like to clarify/modify one additional part of this document, and that is on your page 3 under section 3C, B, C, D, and E. We had combined this language on page 2 and unfortunately didn't get carried over, but B, C, D, and E would be combined to read, where the user is served by the Borough of Somerville, Township of Greenbrook, Borough of Bound Brook, or Borough of Raritan, the user shall be charged as billed directly by the municipality that serves the user according to its existing system of user charges, or by the designated operator of that municipality's sewer system, because our language was actually outdated in Somerville and Bound Brook by saying you're going to be billed by the town because they no longer bill. So section 3, C, B, C, D, and E combined into the language I just read, which is also under section 3, B1B on page 2. With that, I will just share my own comments, and I think our sewer system is not every day, 24 hours a day, our residents are counting on our sewer system to work. And if it doesn't work, there's significant consequences in one's home, and I don't think it's something we can take a chance on. So I will echo Councilman Kirsch's comments, not something we want to raise pricing or tax or utility charges on, but it's important that we maintain the system. But Councilman Cardillo or Norgalis, anything else?
I just have a short comment. I agree with Councilman Norgalis that this is a utility that we need to support. It's not a tax bill per se. But I do, my understanding of this ordinance change is that as we move forward, it's something that we're not going to be looking at and debating every year as to how much we're going to charge. We know what the charges will be. If SVRSA increases their rates, the rates will be increased. We don't have to debate the rates. However, we are obligated to pay the rates. So this ordinance addresses that. And I do know, beyond shadow of doubt, that communities around us have increased flow rates